All right. What is going on, YouTube? Let us just gonna kind of chill, and we're just gonna kind of chill here and just for a second. Wait until get some people in here, hopefully, and we'll see. Actually, do a quick mic check. All right, cool. All right, let's get the chat loaded up. Let's get things crack-a-lackin'. Excuse me. All right. Keep this too long so that when later it is when later it's held as a video. That way the intro won't be as long as it is. But actually, we'll just kind of start getting into the intro. I'll reevaluate everything later as people are kind of coming into the stream. Shouldn't be too hard to understand. The setup here is pretty simple. We've got all the killers listed right here before your eyes, and then you guys can kind of see I got my notes chilling right here as well. This is going to kind of be the guidelines as we're going through what killer is ranked in what way, and yeah. So let's get into this. I am going to be going. I know that I have it like organized really weird here. This is actually in alphabetical order. It's the Blight, the Cannibal. I was hoping to do it in order of the killer being released, but the tier list maker was being a little silly with me. I must say, but it's all good. Let's just get on into the tier list though. Hang on, let me just clear. I got a couple of weird notifications going on right here. All right. All right. So, in order to start things off, let's get into the first killer, which is going to be the Blight. So, we'll go over each of the stats here, like over each of the things that we're going to be ranking the killer based on. So, starting things off with the Blight. So, how well does this, like, before we actually get into his specific details, let's get into how each of this is going to work into the killer's ranking. So the opening of the game is not going to be a massive part of the killer's ranking. It's going to be a pretty okay percentage, at least not as much as the next two. Gen pressure and loot prevention are going to be like the two most important things for ranking a killer up. So if these two are good, then the killer will be generally in a good spot. Closing isn't, again, it's going to be less of a big deal as opening. Opening is going to matter more than closing, but closing is like, if a killer is good enough, they can prevent the closing from even happening, like the end game, the collapse. So any good killer should be able to prevent this, but it will have a small percentage. Perk synergy is going to be really small. It's not going to matter too much, but we'll get into it. Add-ons aren't also going to have a huge effect, but they will have a little bit of an effect. Map synergy. Now these two, How Fun and Map synergy, are going to literally have zero. Like I'm just going to talk about them to talk about them. I think that the map synergy might help you with like a certain killer blending with a certain map could kind of rank them higher or lower. But for the most part, I think that most maps just side with killers more or side with survivors more. And how fun they are, I think that just might be more of a psychological thing. If you enjoy playing a killer and you're having fun with them, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be like, okay, I can get the hang of this killer. So this is going to have like literally nothing to do with how they're ranked at all. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit. So for Blight, I'm actually going to put Blight in actually, let's not get into it. Let's save his tier for a little bit. So I'm gonna give him a C plus in opening. It's not that he's got necessarily a bad opening, but there's nothing good enough about it for me to say that like it's a B. It's not like amazing, but it's not bad. He can obviously get around the map very quickly, and that's good, but the ability to do something with that opening is with that like shot, with that movement, We'll get into more killers who can like really utilize their movement at the beginning of the game very well, and he doesn't really do it that much. Gen pressure is an A. He has fantastic gen pressure. Obviously, he can move around the map very quickly, and he has no problems getting throughout the map. There are some maps that are more difficult to do this with others, but I think for the most part, everyone can kind of agree with me that he's really good at getting around the map. And I mean, now gen pressure isn't just getting around the map quickly; it's also hooking survivors and getting them down quickly, which kind of is more part of loop prevention than it is gen pressure, but it's kind of both. How quickly they can down survivors, because that's kind of part of gen pressure. Because obviously, less survivors that are doing gens, the easier time you're going to have pressuring them. So, as for loop prevention, I'm gonna give him again a C plus here. Actually, no, we're gonna give him a B. The only reason why I say this is any killer who has an insta pallet break ability is good because it can prevent future loops, but for when he's currently being looped, that's where he has a little bit of problems. So it's kind of difficult to say he's any better than a B, but I do think he is good because he can prevent loops from being a problem in the future with his ability to break pallets on rush. So I think if it's used well, it's really good. I also think that his M1 gives him good loop prevention. I think that how good a killer's M1 is really a part of that, and he's got a decent M1. So his closing game, I'm gonna give him an A plus on this one. The way that he closes a game is like really fantastic. Just because of how much he can move around so quickly, his movement is just god tier for closing a game out. So if you're in the end game collapse and you need to get from like a hook to a gate, he has no problems doing that whatsoever. As for perk synergy, I'm gonna give him an A in this one. This isn't really gonna be too relevant. This isn't really gonna be too relevant to his ranking again. But there are a lot of perks that like right off the bat I can think of that are really good on him. Like Tinkerer. Tinkerer is like he probably the only person who utilizes Tinkerer better than Blight is probably Hillbilly. So, and it's not just that one, but along with Blight, along with Tinker comes with his ability to move, barbecue and chili, pop goes the weasel, oppression, all those kicking perks. Trial of Torment's really good on him as well. So there's just a lot of perks that just really go well with his playing style. As for his add-ons, I'm gonna put his add-ons as a B plus. Yeah, I'll put it as a B plus. It's not his add-on isn't anything that impressive, but Compound 21 is really good, and his iridescent add-ons are okay. They're better than a lot of other ones. But anyway, as for his map synergy, I'm gonna give him a B in this one as well. The only reason I'm going to give a killer the map synergy is going to be a lot more straightforward. You're either going to get a C, a B, or an A. An A means you can pretty much rock any map. A B means you can rock most maps, and a C means that you are pretty bad at most maps. So I give him a B because most maps you can do well in, but inside maps are a little funky. A lot of maps with like a lot of obstacles can make it pretty hard to maneuver around with. Like trees and stuff like that are perfect for Blight. I love Blight on Macmillan and Glenville. Those are probably my two favorite maps for him. How fun? I'm gonna give him a B in this one. I think that he does a decent job. And like just like my enjoyment with him. I guess that's not really his responsibility, but I enjoy playing the killer. I wouldn't say that I have like just barrels of fun playing with this killer. He's okay. But I wouldn't really say that I like adore this killer. I played him for a lot longer than I played Twins when Twins came out. So he's pretty fun, but he's nothing crazy. With all that tallied up, I'm gonna say that Blight is B tier. So I think that with every killer too, we're gonna be getting into what I think it would take to make them A tier, S tier, and then S plus tier. So and then if they're C tier, we'll get into how that would be B, A, S, and S plus, obviously. To get Blight into A tier, The only thing I think it would take to do that is make it that he can do a non-lethal rush. So whenever you're using Blight, you have to bounce off of objects in order to keep moving and get your lethal rush. I think that he should be able to like continue to rush and just get like a zip and like zip across the map, but have it be non-lethal so he can't hit you, but like he can use all of his charges to just get across the map really quickly. I think this would help him in a lot of maps that don't have a lot of obstacles for him to utilize, in a lot of areas that don't have a lot of obstacles for him to utilize. So I think that'd be a nice quick way to get him up to A tier, but yeah, I mean, I digress. It'd be pretty cool. To get him up to S tier, this is a little bit trickier. But basically, the only way to get him up, that I would say to get him up to S tier would be to making his opening game better. Uh, I think that well, if we want to get him up to A tier, doing that what I just said would make his gen pressure an A plus. And then if we want to get him up to S tier, I would say making his opening a little bit better would really help with that. So the way that I would help him out with his opening is either giving him unlimited rushes at the beginning of the match, or giving him like some sort of like a base compound 21. And what I mean by that is obviously not making compound 21 base because that would be stupid, but make like a really heavily nerfed compound 21 in his base. So like when he bumps into objects, maybe he gets like some sort of like killer instinct, maybe not killer instinct, but some sort of notification just to let him know that there are survivors nearby, just to help him out with like the fact that, you know, all he can kind of do is run around in the opening. So I think that would help. If we wanted to make him S plus tier, it would literally just be making compound 21 base. So if you're thinking that like his loop, like to increase his loop prevention, I don't really know with his power how you could really make his loop prevention any better, other than making it that when he bumps into a pallet it breaks. That would be a good way. That would also crank him right up to S tier, I'd say, but either one of those options I think would work out really well. Next up, we have the Cannibal. So let's get rid of all this nonsense for... let's get rid of all this nonsense for Blight. Let's get into our boy Bubba a little bit. Who's ready for me to... I know I'm not typing in the Cannibal. I'm just typing in Bubba. Screw this. All right, so Bubba, opening game is a C. He's slow. All he can do is literally run around. He has a very hard time finding people, and Whispers is like almost essential for him. So yeah, it's a hard time. Although gen pressure, though, again, the opening kind of has to do with like how quickly he can move around. He can't move around very well, but I'm still giving him an A in gen pressure. And the only reason why I say that is because he can knock down survivors like immediately. Like immediately. So he's really good at gen pressuring. Loop prevention, A plus. Like you know, no, screw it. S. He's S tier at loop prevention. When he's in his chainsaw state, how like easily he can knock down survivors. It's really insane, honestly. If you're good with Bubba, you can prevent loops so easily. Closing, I'm giving him a B in this one. This is kind of more of a. It has a lot to do with just like his ability to move around. But one thing that, you know, actually no, we're gonna give him a B plus in this, just because if you have a survivor on the hook, if you have one survivor on the hook at the end game, you will get one kill. Like there's no way you're not going to get one kill with Bubba. So that's like really good. And then again, being able to just knock down all the survivors because like they're crowded around the gates, you can make some smart moves if they do some silly nonsense. As for his perk synergy, I'm giving him a B in this one. He doesn't really work well with a lot of perks anymore now that they nerfed play with your food, as well as other things. He makes good do with barbecue and chili, pop, obviously ruin, but there's no perks on Bubba that I'm like, wow, this perk is like amazing on Bubba, except for Infectious Fright. Like that's the only one I can think of that like is honestly amazing on him. His add-ons, Garbo booty. His add-ons are like trash. There's a couple decent ones, but they're all like, most of his add-ons are just ones that like use his perks for some reason. Like there's one that just makes his chainsaw have knockout, and there's like another one that makes his chainsaw have Franklin's demise, and it doesn't, like, I get it, I understand it, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Map synergy, I'm gonna give him an A in this one. The only maps that he doesn't do well in are like Orchard and Redwood, like really big maps. That's really the only place he struggles in. And how fun, S tier, dude. I love playing Bubba. He's one of my favorites. But with all this tallied away, he's going up to A tier. Oh, maybe not. Oh, there we go. Okay, he's going up to A tier. He really honestly just like the update, the buff really made him a better killer. The only way that I could see him becoming higher up on the list would be to make him S or S plus tier would be by making somehow giving him a way to have more mobility. I don't really know how they would do that, but if you want him to be S or S plus tier, give him a way of having like haste, like maybe he can like literally eat people.